Hello everyone and welcome to another video. Today is actually going to be a topic that was recommended by one of my videos, Nicholas Wolf, on my last video, so thank you Nicholas Wolf for the suggestion. And today we are going to be covering what is fair and unfair, what's considered fairness. Now, I have this article from Alec Ramsey, who is one of the developers of Dave's Redistricting app, and he puts it very well with this simple graph. It shows whether a map is compact or whether a map is fair, and then plots it out. So if a map is not fair and not compact, it's an explicit gerrymander. If it's compact, though, and it's fair, that's still a gerrymander, but it's what's called an implicit gerrymander. If we have a map that is compact and it's also fair, then that's a compact and fair map. And if we have a map that is fair but not compact, then that is called a remediatory map or an explicit remediation map. And that's basically where you go out of your way to make sure things are fair, sacrificing compactness. And another thing is this line right here: compactness is frequently not a politically neutral criterion. If maps are compact, it's nice, it looks nice, and it typically helps to determine whether or not they're fair, but it is not by itself a guarantee that a map is fair. So over here, we have 8 maps that I'm going to use to show this off, 4 that I've created myself, and 4 that I've duplicated from real life maps, 1 for each set for each part of the quadrant. So first we're going to go over the compact fair maps, and I've used New Mexico as a base state just because it's really easy to work with. So if we go here into the New Mexico map, just needs a moment to load. So you can see the map is fairly compact. If we go over here, it has a 73 compactness rating, which is not perfect, pretty good, barely splits any counties, and importantly, it has a 100 proportionality rating. If we go over here, people are generally represented by districts that agree with them, and if we scroll down further, there's this section called proportionality, and it shows closest number is 2, blah, blah, blah. Point is, the same amount of districts that they should win is 1 by each party, so this map is considered fair, and it's also compact. So this is a compact fair map, hence the name. Now, for an IRL example of this, in real life example, I chose Florida. It's not a perfect example. Ignore those, they'll fix themselves in a minute. It's not a perfect example, but it's a decent example. Probably about the best there is. Okay, normally it doesn't take that long to fix, but there we go. So you'll see, like, there's a few districts that aren't like this. This specific district here, the 20th, is an explicit remediation district, because if we turn on only current and we go to the 20th, it groups together several minority areas here, so that's explicitly made to be more fair. But the rest of the map is pretty compact overall, so that is generally what is considered compact. And if we go to the analytics, it has 70 compactness, not as good on splitting, but it has 97 proportionality. So it's pretty fair and it's pretty compact overall with a few exceptions. So that is compact fair, but that's not the only type of fair map. If we go back to our New Mexico, this is compact but unfair. So as you can see, the Republican district has been completely eliminated. If we turn off that, we can see exactly what's been happened. This area has been cracked in order to dilute the voters on each side of this. So this is what is considered an implicit gerrymander. It is still compact, however, it is also gerrymandered. Gerrymanders don't always have to be the weird snaky shapes that we think of them. And for an example of this, we are going to go to Nevada. Nevada's not a great example of it, but it's an example nonetheless. If we load in Nevada's map, there is 3 Democratic districts to 1 Republican district, and these aren't safely Democratic, but they're close enough. If we go here, it has a 57 proportionality rating, again, not the worst, but not the best, and an 85 compactness rating. realistically, the Democrats should win 2 districts here based on partisanship, but they actually win 3. So it's fairly unfair, but it's still compact, like that map I showed. So now back to New Mexico again to go into the incompact or not compact ones. First is incompact but fair, or as we call it, explicit remediation. So as you can see, this district is very much not compact, and neither is this one. It goes windy, and if we turn it off here, that's because this is a Republican area that otherwise wouldn't be connected. So basically, incompact fair, it's not compact, but it's not compact because it's being distorted to be more fair. We're intentionally remediating, so it's an explicit remediation. And if we go to analytics, it has 48 compactness, so it's not compact, but it has 100 splitting and 100 proportionality, and also 100 minority rights. So that is a incompact fair, and for an example of that, we are going to go over to Colorado, who has a independent commission. Incompact fair maps are typically what is favored by commissions because they're what produces most often the most fair result. So as you can see, Colorado has all of these snaky districts, but if we turn on city lines, and it's a bit of a mess, but you can see the district actually perfectly follows the city lines of Denver as well as the county lines of Denver. And in general, it quite well follows county lines. This district doesn't split any more than one county, in fact. So that's considered a remediation map if you go out of your way to make it more fair by making it less compact. And for the last type, we're going to talk about incompact and unfair maps, or maps that are explicit gerrymanders. So for New Mexico, I have this map, which as you can see is very gerrymandered. It splits Albuquerque right down the middle. It has random snakes. If we turn on this, these areas are completely split. It splits way more counties than necessary. And the analytics confirm this. Ignore that 100 minority. But 41 compactness, 16 splitting, and actually 0 proportionality because the Republicans don't have a hope to win any district. So this is considered an incompact unfair, and if we go back, our real life example is going to be Maryland, which is much of the same situation. Maryland, if we were to have a proportional map, the Republicans would win 2, maybe 3 districts, but they actually win 1 on the current map, and that is because there has been significant gerrymandering done to the map. If we just take a single example of District 2, just turn that off, you can see it snakes through to pick apart different areas. So this is a very explicit gerrymander, but it's worth keeping in mind, again, that just because it has the snakes doesn't mean it's a gerrymander, and just because it's gerrymandered doesn't mean it has snakes, as we've seen in our previous maps. So fairness isn't just about compactness, that's something to keep in mind. Another thing is minority rights. This map obviously has 100 minority rights because they've drawn the districts in such a way that almost all of these districts are minority majority. But another thing about fairness is that you want to keep together communities of interest, and most often that's used to mean minority groups, but it can also be cities and counties. So if we turn on this, you can see Baltimore County is split, well, Baltimore City County is split, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ways. That's not something that would fly on a fair map. You want to try to keep this community together if at all possible. So that's another aspect to fairness, is not dividing up communities unnecessarily. Obviously, sometimes you'll have to, but you want to keep that to a minimum. Or like here in DC, where it's split between 5 districts. So yeah, that's basically it. So just to recap, there is 3 different factors. There is the communities, so you want to keep together similar communities, whether that be minority rights or if it's a county or city. There is whether a map is compact or incompact, which is basically determined by compactness, how tightly shaped the district is, and then there's fairness or unfairness. So if the map is partisanly fair or not, if the districts that are expected to be won by each party roughly equal its votes gotten. And what is considered a fair map is one that meets the fairness criteria as much as possible, while preserving the community criteria. And of note is that the compactness criteria does not affect a map's fairness inherently. It can, as we saw in Maryland, if it's less compact, it leads to those snakes. But as we saw in Colorado, it being less compact can actually make it more fair. So keep that in mind. Just because a map is not compact doesn't mean it's fair, and just because a map is compact doesn't mean it's not fair. That'll be it for this tutorial, and thank you guys for watching. Bye!